We've been stuck in Wrightsville Beach for a few weeks now after breaking down while motoring south in the ICW. After figuring out that the seals on our drive leg failed and that water had been getting into the oil, we started rebuilding a new-to-us drive leg that a buddy gave us. Our plan is to completely rebuild this drive leg and then beach the boat and swap it out with our busted one, which we will fix as we go. If you haven't been following along on this journey, I will link the episode where we broke down in the top right corner, or you can find it in the description down below.
Woo! It is time putting this thing back together.
People ask kind of for a little bit more of like a step-by-step kind of ASMR style instructions, which I think is kind of useful because I don't know if there's like a lot of good videos that really lay out all of the parts to these things. Bear with us a little bit, we're gonna make this fun. Definitely fun.
Today we are going to be cleaning everything with diesel. Why are we doing that?
Well, there's like dirty oil in it still, and diesel is a good thing to clean motor parts with and oily parts with, and apparently like diesel's good enough of an oil that we could just fill this thing with diesel if we needed to. That sounds insane to me, but Hunter was explaining it to me in a way that I was like, oh, that makes sense. So it won't hurt anything by just cleaning everything with diesel, which is like the main important part. We're gonna put the 90 weight oil in it at the end, but for now we just want to get all the old oil and like the dust and low metal flakes and whatever else is in there out. Let's get to it.
It has been an exhausting couple of weeks here with a lot going on, and we are finally ready to put this back together with new bearings and seals. Today we're going to be cleaning the parts, putting in new bearings, and dry fitting the drive leg.
So especially the spots where seals or bearings are going to sit, we just want to make sure that all the gunk is out of them.
We used some Scotch-Brite pads as well as microfiber cloths and marine diesel to clean the inside of the drive leg.
Why don't we clean everything with diesel?
Because then everything will be covered in diesel.
You know what? That's a good point. But that is working pretty well. This is before and after. You know, not perfect, but certainly cleaner. Michaela doing such a good job.
This is my specialty, cleaning.
Especially with diesel.
I love cleaning with diesel.
That's a new one for the resume.
We spent a good hour or two cleaning out the parts as much as we could.
Okay, time for a quick unboxing of all the stuff that we bought for the drive leg. I purchased 4 pairs of bearings and 2 shaft seals, which I will put in the description down below for anyone who needs that information. I purchased open bearings. Sometimes you can get them closed and they have their own crease, but the drive leg will have oil running through the whole system, so I thought it was best to keep them open. We just kind of have to think about where the bearings are going. We can figure out which parts to put inside the freezer. It may seem almost fake, but heating up and cooling down metal really does change its size. I think the gear needs to go in the freezer so that we can put the new bearing on it. It's like these 4 gears, which means the bigger bearings are staying out. And then we have to look at the smaller bearings that go in here, such as like this guy, need to go in the freezer as well. Metal kind of like shrinks a little bit if it's cold, and it's often just enough to, that's why we would like heat things up, because it like expands and breaks the corrosion. So if we cool it, if we cool the gears and leave the bearings warm or even torch them just a little bit, I think that they should slide on pretty easy. I spent some time sorting out the parts and trying to remember how they all fit back together. I certainly could have done a bit better of a job taking pictures and such as we went through this, but that's okay. Let's toss some stuff in the freezer. Okay, so let's put this guy and this guy in a bag together. I just want to make sure things don't get like rusty. So just make sure it's nice and oily in there. Then same thing with our lovely gears. Let's go put these in the freezer, along with these 2 little bearings. I placed the bearings and shafts in the freezer so that they could shrink and more easily be put together, either inside of the drive leg or, in the case of the shafts, have bearings slide onto them. This video is not sponsored, but we just wanted to quickly mention that we are still loving our Iceco freezer, and if you are interested in one for your boat, RV, or home, you can use our code down in the description to save a little bit of money and also help support our channel. Okay, now hopefully between that and the spray, we can get them nice and chilly to make installing it all a little easier.
I wanted to chat a little bit about what's been going on behind the repair and apologize for not keeping up with filming more everyday boat life stuff. It has been really hard to want to pick up the camera and film outside of the repair. Mostly because every second that we aren't working on it, it feels like we're either editing a video or running to the hardware store, or dealing with one of the other million projects that's gone wrong lately. Honestly, we've just been trying to push through this project and some other stuff has had to fall to the wayside. But we're hoping to make filming more of our day-to-day lives on the boat a higher priority once we wrap up this project. Overall, I would say we're in pretty high spirits about it and looking forward to getting this leg back together again so that we can make the swap happen and get headed south again.
As we're letting things cool down, we just ran out and grabbed a tap and die set. Not because we're gonna make any new holes right now, but just so that we can clean out the sealant or the gasket or whatever is in these holes. I feel like we did a pretty good job just picking it out, but apparently like as you screw down, if there's like that old gasket still, it can kind of compress in the bottom and then you won't ever get like a nice tight seal between the metal and the new instant gasket. So we're just gonna go through quick and run this tap through the holes. Use a little bit of 2-stroke oil. We will want to make sure we're extra careful not to strip or not to like cross thread any of it, so I think we'll probably just use our fingers mostly. I went through and ran a tap through all of the holes on the drive leg just to make sure that they were ready and all of the old gasket was cleared out. So lastly, we just got to do the same thing to this, and then we can start kind of putting everything back together. At some point we just got to do it and then see how it works out, and if we have to take it all apart again, we'll just do that too.
That is gross.
Yeah, so that's like all the old sealant.
Look at all that.
Yeah. Okay, so last thing to do before we start putting everything back together is we're gonna get one more cleaning. I bought these like long brushes, and I feel like if I just stick a rag on it, it'll be sticky enough that it shouldn't get lost forever. I wrapped up the rest of the cleaning. After all of the work I've put into this rebuild, I really just wanted to make sure that all of the pieces were as clean as possible and ready to be put back together and sealed up. See, I'd say that worked pretty well. We are dry fitting the drive leg. That means we are putting everything together without actually using the sealant, just to make sure it all fits together and moves well. Okay, so step one of putting this drive leg together is we're gonna get the bearings all back where they need to be. So we took the bearings off. These guys, we just pulled these guys out of the freezer. They're freaking super cold because we kind of need to do this in one shot. We're just gonna wipe them off quick, the backs of them, put on the thread locker. We went with a medium instead of a high strength thread locker, just because we do plan to, I imagine we will have to get these back off sometime. These all had WD-40 on them before, so we're just giving them a little wipe down. Let's go ahead and just put a little bit of this guy on here. Looks very liquidy. I don't think we need too much. So let's grab this hammer and see if we can kind of just gently tap it on, because it is so cold. Okay, almost there. I feel like this one wants to go on a little more.
Yeah, that was easy. What is thread lock? Is it like glue?
Yeah, it's just like to help it make sure it stays put. But it's also, it feels a little insane because everything's so perfectly fit together, you know.
But it's like, how would it come off?
Yeah. So I think all of these are pretty good to go. It's a little hard to say because I've never put them back together before. I've only ever taken them apart. So it's like a little hard to know if we did it exactly right. But they're on there and they spin. And they spin for a really long time. Okay, so I think this is going to be like the next trickiest one. So these guys are nice and cold. This doesn't have to go just through here. It has to go down into there too. The design on this thing's a little wackadoodle. Oh, oh, wow, it's so cold it went right in. So now we just got to get some blue in there.
can't really film it. I can just film the outside.
Oh no, I can't really get the blue. What if we just blew the sides of the bearing and try to drop it in there? We could also just put this right in the middle and kind of tap on this and see. Try to wipe up some of that thread lock so it doesn't get in the bearings itself. Yeah, I think that went pretty well actually, comparatively to how I thought it was going to go. We had to place a bearing into the other side as well, but this one has a larger opening, so it was a little easier to get into place. It'd be really funny to get my hand stuck in there.
It would not, actually.
I'd have to like get the fire department to come cut this thing in half.
Careful with your teeth, love. You don't have dental insurance.
You don't have dental, as if that actually does anything. Okay, so some thread lock on this guy too. Let's get this in its home before it warms up. Having a freezer, also great for this. Okay, go to your home. Maybe even a little too far, oops. Okay, so we're just gonna put a socket over this thing, I think. We're just gonna tap. Yeah, there we go. That's nice and flush now. Okay, last bearing.
Oh, this is an interesting setup we have.
Sometimes you just need the moons to line up, you know? It's gonna be so silly carrying around all these washers that have like such a specific purpose.
It's okay. Washers are pretty small.
And they're pretty cheap, which is nice.
Alright, show me my cutting board. Oh, she's been sacrificed.
Yeah, she was kind of molding already anyway.
Yeah.
So
It was
could
a
have
fine
saved it,
sacrifice.
but we needed something. I already messed up the table a little bit.
Patrick.
And Michaela was like, "Are you sure it's not damaging the table?" I was like, "No, what?" Yeah, definitely. I'm sorry, table. I'm sorry, Michaela.
It's okay. I love you.
I love you too. We're gonna have to clean 1,000 screws though, because they're all gunked up still. I used a wire brush to clean up all of the screws. I just spent all that time tapping the holes so that they weren't all gunked up. Like the last thing I want to do is like gunk them up again. I cleaned all of these screws. That's my screw family. Look at all of them, beautiful. We're gonna finish getting these bearings in place, and then we're just gonna put it all together, like kind of like a dry fit before we actually put the sealant on, just to make sure that everything lines up well, and that the prop spins, and that it is all like free moving. But all these bearings can kind of just go to their home. This guy drops down into here. Would you go to your home? Here's a little pipe. Okay. I was just trying to clean up the excess here. Make sure it's not getting in the bearings because those do not need to be glued. So we're gonna drop this on. Anytime I ran across something that was rusty like this bolt, I gave it a quick cleaning with the wire brush. I just wanted to make sure everything is freshened up for the rebuild. And then this one goes on top. Look at that.
Honestly, a lot of this was just Patrick trying to figure out how everything went back together, and sometimes even putting it together and then taking it back apart because we did it in the wrong order.
I feel like I'm watching a mad scientist.
Yeah, you know, like somebody who had like any kind of a brain would have like taken notes or done something that would have been smart to do. See, and if you ever feel like, I don't know how to do something, I want you to watch this video and think about how underprepared I am for literally all of this. I mean, look at this workspace. It's a lunatic's workspace.
I can,
You can vouch for that,
yeah, I can.
And yet, here we are. We're making it happen. It may come across like I know what I'm doing in these videos, but sometimes that is just the magic of editing. It takes me time to figure all of this out, and I make plenty of mistakes along the way. Unfortunately, if we left everything in our videos, they would be far too long to post. Okay, so then there's two parts of this. There's this like little coupling. Oh no. This needed to go on first. I didn't realize this thing was so thin. It's never been much of a problem that I've had, being too thin. Okay, so this needs to go here. And then this.
Is this room tall enough?
It appears to be just tall enough. You gotta give me a little grace. This is the first time I've ever put one of these back together. See, it's like don't be afraid if everything goes wrong at every corner, because you can overcome. This is like a half Sillette sail drive leg tutorial and half a motivational seminar on believing in yourself. Last bearing connection here, just like this, sits right home. And we shall wipe up the excess, as is tradition. The seals go in here like this, and then this sits.
I see it turning up there.
And then this guy sits kind of just like this. So then lastly, we kind of have the propeller here. Always needs a little bit of love to get back on. And then this guy screws on. Oh, there's also a locking plate, but we'll put that on there too. It was truly exciting to see this all cleaned up and back together for the first time.
I am incredibly proud of Patrick for taking on such a big project by himself and making this happen so that we can continue to live our dreams.
Can't believe I live in your thoughts. I think about you all the time, morning, evening, and midnight. Such a wonderful delight. Everything that I own, yeah, I'd give it all up now just to be with you somehow. Unexpected love was found. You're the rose in a garden, and it shows if I'm honest. You're the leaves in mid-August, and I've come out here to say that I love you.
Thank you to everyone who reached out to check on us. We appreciate the support and are truly humbled by how much this community cares about us. We hope that you know that we care about you too and are beyond grateful for each and every one of you who watches our videos.
Today's a pretty exciting day. First things first is we're gonna go on a nice morning sail with Finn. I think he's like 17. But what an amazing dude. I think he grew up on a boat and now he spends most of his time like doing competitive racing. And he offered to take us sailing before we come back and then seal up the drive leg. I think he's going to be the one who helps us do the actual swaps. Super excited. Looks like it's gonna be a beautiful day. Like kind of light winds, like 8-10 knots or so, and then super low waves. I haven't really sailed on a monohull, so we're gonna see how this goes. Hopefully not too seasick or anything, but super stoked to hopefully learn a thing or two, because I bet he's way better at sailing than me. Actually, I don't even need to bet. I just know for a fact he's way better at sailing than me.
Morning. man.
Literally can't get a cooler entrance. So here we're just gonna leave the anchor, take the boat.
Take the boat. No anchor needed, dude.
Yeah, like why complicate things, you know, picking up the anchor when we could just leave it right here.
This is the sketchy part here, because there's fully nothing attached to the anchor except the windlass.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's fine. So now I'm gonna get this one here with a really, really small shackle on it, by the way. Really tiny. Where is it?
I can see it.
You see it?
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's the shackle that believes,
That's
you know?
that. Oh man, hold the whole boat. It's time for a shackle upgrade. That ain't going nowhere. Now I put this back on. So now I take the end of this.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
All of their hopes were doomed, 'cause for us they're intruders. And all of their high thoughts about us were just illusions. They could not find a way into our closed hearts.
Thanks for taking me on here, brother.
Yeah, man. What a great day, dude.
Just beautiful.
Scared of the cost in our own life, but those who are right.
Lay down here. Oh yeah.
I had a fantastic time sailing with Finn. It is always surprising and also a joy when you find someone so locked into what they want to be doing in life. He is probably one of the best sailors I've ever met, and he taught me a ton in just an afternoon of sailing together.
We completely forgot to film taking the banana bread out of the oven yesterday because our friend Finn came over, but it turned, oh, I'm making a mess. It turned out a really good batch. It's yummy.
A nice batch of banana bread.
Hey, sometimes I fail at making banana bread. You don't always see them on this channel, but they do happen. Although, if I'm honest, half of it got a little crispy.
A little more done. A little well done banana bread. It's pretty good. It's not dry or anything. It's some good banana bread. Okay, so we dry fitted everything. Things spin well. I think we're just gonna send it. So the first thing is we're gonna have to I took this apart just so I could tighten this a little bit more. And maybe so we could fit like a cotter pin through here to make sure that it stays where we think it should stay, just so this doesn't come loose. We got a helper today. We got Finn.
Hello.
Our new sailing friend. I tested everything out again after securing the cotter pin just to make sure it was all still moving smoothly. Then we quickly took it apart so we could add the seals and sealant.
Looks really good.
Here I am putting in the new zinc. A zinc is a sacrificial piece of metal that protects the more expensive parts of the engine from corrosion. So these seals go in back to back, or I guess face to face, like such. I quickly wire brushed the spots where the sealants were going just to make sure that it was clean. Finn sanded out this hole. Shout out to Finn. Hit it with the wire brush a little bit, but overall looking good. So we just got to get this thing down now. So we need to put it in, same deal. Face to face is the pictures I have, so now the goes in way better. Then it was time to add the liquid gasket. I made sure to go around each of the screw holes to provide a good seal. At first I was concerned about the color, because when you search for different types of gaskets, they are often black or blue or red. I had to look up in the spec sheet that it was supposed to be a brown color. Using a card, I went around and smoothed it down, providing a nice even amount of sealant across the surface. And this goes right just back. It might make sense just to put it on the screw itself. I added some Tef gel to the screws to help prevent corrosion between the stainless steel screws and the aluminum drive leg. I alternated which side I was tightening the screws to try to keep the sealant as even as possible. Often using a star pattern is the best way to go about this. I actually ended up taking this piece back off so that I could add some oil to the seals because it wasn't turning very well. We are going to now put this on the shaft. We looked it up and we're going to put some grease on the inside seals. We originally used some oil. The next day we continued, first adding some marine grease to the seals before putting it all back together again.
It's not, I want to say it was better than...
Like this is better than before?
What it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe just the grease helps.
I think the grease will help.
Just get it spin around too.
Next thing we have to do is put on this top part, but kind of hard with the vise to hold it in any way, so we just C-clamped it to the table, which...
Gets the job done.
Gets the job done. I think it's kind of smart. So this guy kind of just goes on like this. Okay, we're gonna make sure Finn doesn't just watch me do a bunch of work. We're gonna give him a little practice in getting some sealing going. I'd say the only spot we're gonna want to be a little careful is not to get too close to the bearing.
All right, here we go.
My man's going with the continuous bead strategy.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter either way.
Yeah, I know, because we just flatten it out.
Yeah.
It's like frosting a cake. Okay, so just putting it on this front piece. This is where the spline connects in. The last piece is just this top bit. It spins pretty well, honestly. It's like not super free, but I honestly think like that's just going to be because of those seals. Like once they wear in, I think we'll be fine. I did the math. If we look at like this seal, it's like 31 millimeters. But if you look at the new seals, it's like 29 and a half. I think they just need a little bit of time to wear in.
It would be amazing if they just decided to make a gasket for it.
For this thing?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be sick, but
it gets the job done.
I don't think anybody's making anything new for this. That's what I can do though. I'll get a 3D printer that does the gaskets.
Just talk to Sam Holmes about it.
Yeah, and then boom. So we're gonna put the steering yoke on here. But first we're gonna put some grease on. We're gonna use the new steering yoke that I have, that I bought as a backup. Okay, and the last thing is this guy needs to fit in here. Not my $4 Harbor Freight mallet. Oh, you see how that moves, dude? That's
Sweet.
Awesome.
Sweet.
You can see there's a notch in this pin, and that notch needs to go the other way. It should turn kind of easy. There we go. It is finally time, I think, to get this thing primed and basically ready to go back into the water. So we're gonna clean it first with some 216, which is just a solvent to make sure the surface is clean. And then we have Primocon by Interlux, which is a underwater primer. And then we have Trilux 33 anti-fouling, which I think will have enough. And this travel is not that big. But first we're just gonna sand off the extra sealant, and then we'll hang this guy up on this hook.
That's not bad. Is that good? Yeah. Okay.
It is like 62 degrees right now, which feels crazy compared to how cold it has been. All finished priming the drive leg, so now we're just gonna paint it. And then 2 coats of paint and we should be ready to go to swap this thing in. Because it's a nice day, we have power boats that are just racing, I guess, which wakes us a lot, but you know, we'll manage. And I feel like that paint looks pretty good.
We did have to hold the drive leg to keep it from swinging when boats would wake us, which was a little challenging considering it was covered in wet paint. Over 4 days, we did 2 coats of primer and 2 coats of paint, giving an entire day to dry in between each coat. We had weeks worth of cleaning to do after turning our cockpit into a workshop. This is just a quick reminder of what this drive leg looked like when we first brought it back to the boat and how far it has come since Patrick took on the challenge of rebuilding it. Don't forget to subscribe because next time we will be beaching this boat for the very first time and swapping out the drive legs. Wow, ice water.
We're making glaciers.